Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for tuning into our podcast. It's about payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and Walter William Duncan III. Whether you're new to the payroll industry or a seasoned vet, this is the podcast for you.
Welcome to today's show where we are covering the 5 pillars of payroll. And today we're covering pillar number 3. It's going to cover systems, meaning your HCM, your payroll system, and any other system that kind of plays into that mix to create a payroll check.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into it, I had an interesting find in some of the research that you did, Walt, and I wanted to talk about it. It
Okay.
was free payroll software.
Hmm.
And I thought it was yes, I thought that was crazy. So I dug in, went to the site, and the way they do this is it's only for up to 25 employees. If you have more than that,
Okay.
it's a no-go.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they fund it or they subsidize it, they advertise to the 25 people that
Ah,
are
okay.
logging into the
Okay.
payroll system. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're using ad money, which is clever because if you do it like on a micro local level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm using it here and maybe like the local pizzerias and the local businesses and accountants, and I thought it was pretty cool to have a free payroll software, but of course it's only for 25 people, so which makes
Yeah.
sense because I was like, this is impossible. How in the world do they cover the cost,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, that was a nice little nugget out there.
So I wonder if they like did analysis on that stuff, like if they had some metrics or analytics on that to see what that sweet spot was, what the number of
For
free
free, right?
employees. Yeah,
Yes,
like 25.
they must
Okay,
have. Yes, it's something that makes sense, not too big but not big enough, something
okay,
like that.
gotcha.
Yes. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about systems today. It's the number 3 pillar on the pillars of payroll. And this, again, it means the system that you're working with either to produce payroll or your HR system. There are many different systems that
Hmm.
will play into your ecosystem, so to
Yes.
speak.
Yep.
And
To your payroll universe. Yep.
there we go. And no matter how many systems they are, they're going to bucket into one of these 3 categories. It's going to
Yep.
be preliminary systems, where that might be your applicant tracking, your onboarding, because we're talking about preliminary before you get to
Hmm.
pay that person. This
Yeah.
is still, it's about payroll, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk preliminary, we're talking pre-payroll, before you
Hmm.
push that payroll button. So it's going to be an applicant tracking and onboarding and the like. And
Hmm.
then there's going to be ancillary systems, meaning your time and attendance system
Hmm.
being the main one. And there can be other ones as well, some calculations, or a system might even be the way you house your spreadsheets that feed into your payroll. That could be not quite a system, but you're working some other data into the payroll mix.
Yep.
And then your core systems, which are going to be your HCM, your human capital management, and your payment system, your payroll system.
Yeah.
By the way, there are over 16,000 payroll system providers, payroll companies in the US, including the big 4 or 5, depending on who you consider the big 4 or 5. And the reason why I broke it down, like for HCM and payment, because they can be separate. You
Uh
can
huh.
get, right? Been, I've been places where we're using one HCM and we're feeding that into a different payroll system. And
Yep.
it's 2 different companies, even though both companies respectively have the other product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just how that happens. That just personal prep. Who knows? A million ways that you get your mix
Yeah.
of software to blend and use together or not.
Yeah.
You can have an HCM that's a payroll system, and you can have a payroll system that can be a HCM. So it gets very confusing.
Hmm.
Nevertheless, they can be one or they can be two, but those are your main products because you have to have somewhere to have your employee information and you have to pay them from somewhere. So,
Yes.
and it
Hmm.
doesn't always have to be the same one. So you can keep that in mind. And when you're looking at systems, learning about systems, it's going to fall into one of these 3 places. It's, again, preliminary, ancillary, or your core systems,
Core systems. Okay.
right?
Yeah, and then a lot of
Now,
times also I know that some of these systems sometimes they can speak to each other, and what I mean by speak to each other is that they can be easily integrated to where you can upload from one into the other. Like you may use an ancillary system for time and attendance, but use a different core system to make payment,
yep.
right? So you have to upload from that ancillary system with your time. You import it to submit your payment for your payrolls, whatever frequency that's on, and I think that should be mentioned as well, just for some of the newer payroll folks out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's two types of integrations, that manual
Hmm.
and automated, and then it depends. Can they be fully automated, or are you
Hmm.
the automation? That's something you want to keep in
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Yes, that's a good call out. And then in those hundreds of thousands of solutions, they're going to fall into three categories. Either it's going to be off the shelf, meaning you're going to buy this product in the cloud and use it in the cloud, and it's just built, and
Hmm.
you map it out and according to your specifications, meaning data wise, but
Hmm.
you're not changing the way this works.
Yeah.
It works one way, and that's it,
Yep.
right? So that's off the shelf, and that's usually for small companies.
Yeah.
Mid-market companies can afford a little bit more because SaaS, software as a service, gets expensive. So
Yes.
you have your mid-market, which is a little customizable, but is also going to have its limitations. And
Hmm.
mid-market is usually 500 employees, I believe, to 2,000. Whether there may be some subcategories there, but I know the cap for mid-market is at 10,000 employees. The start has got to be somewhere in the thousands, maybe 1,000, something like that.
So it says mid market is between 100 to 999 employees.
That's crazy. That's a
Eh,
big gap.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
and between 50 million to 1 billion in revenue. That's for
Wow.
mid-size, mid-market companies. Yeah.
No wonder why there's so much room in that space,
Hmm.
because that's at like everybody. And then above that, folks, above the, what is that? Basically 100 to a 10,000 is called enterprise.
Hmm.
And that's over 10,000 employees. So
Yeah.
your software is going to fall into one of these three groups, and you have more customization options as you go into the mid-market and enterprise, not so much on off the shelves. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind as you're dealing with softwares and all that. Things are customizable, but your ability to impact that is going to depend on where you are in this scale and what type of product it is.
So Brian, I don't know if you want to get if you don't want to get too deep into it, but just for some of the newer payroll folks can understand, when you say customizable, you're not saying that as far as the system is concerned. You're saying as far as what the system can do, right? What they can offer.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, really.
A bit of
So
both.
for
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a bit of both because at some level you could, at enterprise level, you might have to be able to afford the
Hmm.
customization. You pay for it, you're going to pay a pretty penny. And even at the mid-market level, you might be able to get customization, but you're going to pay for it. So
Yeah.
yes, it's saying, oh my gosh, do something for me that you don't do for anybody. Or
Hmm.
it's their toolbox is so deep and has so many options that you're going to find the customization that you need in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes. And as you move again through those mid-market enterprise, it's more options that are, yeah, little customizations that you need for your business that are there and you're going to be able to
Hmm.
build, or you'll be able to actually impact them changing the software, changing the code.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible because even the big guys have, what do they call it, ERP requests or something like that, where you can submit things that you want to see in the software, and
Hmm.
then they're running analytics on the back end. So if their customer base wants one thing, the same thing, then they're going to do it. For instance, two-factor authentication was a big
Yes.
issue in the past few years. That's something that the big guys caught up with in the last
Hmm.
year or so, where, and I literally remember it wasn't available at the beginning of the year, and then it was available at the end of the year. And
Yeah.
when it came, it was like, yeah, enough customers asked for it. It's been on the roadmap, and here it is. but you're gonna get that more in the mid-market enterprise level, is because the off the shelves, they don't have the budget for that. They created a product that is just kind of can keep reselling, and you may not
Mm-hmm.
have they may not have the funds, right, and the resources to keep
Mm-hmm.
changing it. So
Gotcha.
yeah, but that's a good call out.
Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. So on to the next one. We want to talk a little bit about managing those systems.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. This is a one that we get can get dangerously caught up with. So it could be a whole nother show, is managing your integrations, right? Because now you have,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gosh, we have 3 or 4 different softwares that we need to use to get payroll done,
Yeah.
and they're not all integrated. We're the automation,
Yeah.
meaning, like Walt said earlier, you're downloading files from one system, you're
Mm-hmm.
reformatting them according to the system that it needs to get uploaded to,
Mm-hmm.
and you're pushing it into another system, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going on from there. I think
Yeah.
the biggest call out that we can, or tip rather, that we can, or best practice that we can offer right now, is saying that at every point where you have integration, there's
Mm-hmm.
an opportunity to do an audit. Because right, you're taking 200 hours out of one system and you're pushing it into another. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that 200 hours went in, either
Yeah.
through computer error or
Mm-hmm.
for a number of million different errors. You have to make sure it's, still 200 hours.
Yeah.
So you may have another point where after you process payroll, you need to move that data into the GL,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
you need to make sure that what you did is moving. So again, that is that same activity at every
Mm-hmm.
point of contact, right? We can say between two systems, you have an opportunity to audit and reconcile between the two. Not even an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Honestly, it's a requirement. If you're
It's the
not
best
doing it
practice.
already, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. It's best practice.
Yeah.
You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna if that's where you are and you're managing multiple systems to get payroll done, it is an absolute requirement to reconcile between the systems.
Yeah.
Make sure the data is the same throughout every system.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances, yeah, and especially for those, I feel bad, that kind of have to do with redundancy, where you have to enter the same information into two different systems at the same time, but you can't do it at the same time. You got to enter it in that one and then enter it in that one and keep maintaining that. Man, I
Mm-hmm.
feel bad for those companies and teams that are out there that are doing that. So sorry for you.
Yeah.
Share the pain, because maybe we have some solutions as a community that we can share with you to do something you're not seeing something. I love fresh eyes, love
Mm-hmm.
bringing fresh eyes in on things, because you get so used to doing it your way, you're not thinking of another way.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you on that, Brian. Yeah. So I I remember this one employer that I worked for that I had to manage. I think it was 3 or 4 systems, right? So we used an independent time and attendance system. We use a well-known core system for payment. We had another system because we reported to HR. We had another system where we had to manage performance reviews. And then we had another system where we had to manage like bonuses and stuff like that. But it was more antiquated. It was more like Excel, honestly, than anything. So we had to use all those different things in payroll in order to get to the end result, which was payment. Because the performance reviews affected promotions, sometimes demotions,
wow.
rates and stuff like that. So, and then time and attendance paid the hourly people their pay, of course. The reason I brought up that story is because some of it depends on the structure of the employer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that being said, I wanted to get into payroll's involvement in integration and the management of those systems because I know I felt helpless at times being a payroll manager where I'm trying to manage all these different systems and it was so much because we didn't have the right size team or there was a lot of challenges, right, in the way. So what advice or what tips would you give someone in the payroll who may be having these multiple systems and struggling to get through? What would you suggest?
Finding a great career has always been a challenge. But today, with the massive changes underway in just about every sector of the economy, in just about every country in the world, finding a great new career is even more challenging. And if you're a student, recent graduate, or someone else early in their career, it's even harder for you because you just don't have the experience that those who might be 10, 20, 30 years older than you have. The answer? The podcast. From dorms to desks. A podcast by College Recruiter job search site, where every week we take a deep dive into a topic specifically of interest to candidates who are early in their careers and looking for a great part-time, seasonal, internship, or other entry-level job.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
If there's, man, knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Because and it's a process, and I don't mean to throw it out there like, oh, knowledge, get knowledge, and you go. No, I'm saying you got to do the research. You got to figure out if you can get the systems to talk automatically. You got to
Yeah.
figure out. You got to try to problem solve and say, okay, how can I improve this process? And that sometimes you ask like your coworker about something. Oh, does this do this? No, you can't. Don't trust them.
Yeah.
Trust but verify.
Trust but
Right,
verify.
trust but verify is what I live by. Okay, let me call the software. Try to find those common pieces to each system, because
Yeah.
you could find it now. What's happening between systems? They're doing FTPs and they're dropping the file. Right, you get one vendor to automatically drop a file, and you
Mhm.
get the other vendor to automatically pick up the file on a timely basis. So that has the little AI and the bots going out there and getting it automatically, provided that you set it up. You have to set it up and test it. It doesn't happen magically. You have to put the work in to set it
Yes.
up.
Yes.
But you have to go grind them out, because now we are getting to a place, especially with the pandemic, that
Mhm.
these softwares are more willing to integrate.
Mhm.
Right? Before you'd be like, no, we don't integrate.
Yeah.
But now, being that everybody's working remotely and it's right, they have to pivot. So
Yes.
there are a lot more opportunities for them to integrate, and they're more willing to do it. So now you just
Mhm.
like push. And one of the things that I've learned in really well in the last year is that, listen, everything is changing so rapidly. What was a no yesterday is a
Mhm.
yes tomorrow,
Mhm.
because the companies, it's the big guys, the small guys, everybody is racing to keep up
Mhm.
and racing to give you a better product and
Yeah.
racing to give you that integration. So you
Yeah.
have to keep pushing them and asking, or develop good relations. If you're dealing with 5 different systems, you should have 5 different reps that you have a really great relationship with. And you're always asking them, hey, when are we going to be able to integrate with this one? When are we going to be able to do this? Right? So you got to
Yeah.
fight that battle. And then if it's really painful and there's no integrations there at all, opportunities to improve, then of course, what are we doing again? We're building a business case
Yes.
that we need to take to our bosses
Mhm.
for approval,
Yes.
whatever that may be, whatever that may look like. We're building a business case, and it's getting to the point right now that I need a software on how to build business cases, because it's happening so much, especially in the
Yeah.
changing and growing companies.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect segue to some of these general tips that you have listed out in our notes for today's show when it comes to the integration and implementation of systems.
Oh,
Um,
perfect.
yeah, I'll just read them off, and then you can like elaborate
Right.
right on those. Is identify your system's needs and requirements. If you have a hard time, hire a consultant.
Yes.
Research systems based on your requirements. That means you got to get out there, get on the internet, find out stuff, talk to other people if you have to, talk to your peers in the industry, whatever you got to do to
Absolutely.
find out about these systems. Be comprehensive with comparisons. I like that one a lot, and I'm excited for you to talk about that one here in a second. So, and then you have a note that followed up for your first tip about hiring a consultant. So you said if you're hiring a consultant, be careful. And I'm intrigued why you said be careful, but I think I have an idea, but I'll let you speak to that in a second. Pre-established affiliations. Okay, I see that.
Yep.
Stretching out their core competency.
Hmm.
Okay. So, okay, I'll let you talk on my stuff, man. Okay.
So yes, absolutely. No, these I got excited about too. And the first one is identify your system's needs and requirements, and
Yep.
or rather your system needs, and that
Hmm.
really means your business needs.
Okay.
What as a business, what are you trying to solve? What
Your
business are you in?
ecosystem.
Your ecosystem, right? You have to try
Gotcha.
to define your ecosystem. Do you need time and attendance, or are you all salaried? Because then
Hmm.
if you're all salaried, you don't need a time and attendance system.
Hmm.
That's an easy one. And then how complex is it? Is nursing needs a lot of different pay codes,
Hmm.
and they have a whole
Shiftive.
ecosystem. Yes, shift it. Not even that, they have a whole ecosystem of just pay codes that work off of each other and are contingent on one another. So that yeah, so you need a system that can handle that complexity, whereas a hedge fund might just be paying a salary and commissions.
Gotcha.
So you have to identify your business needs, and then how that translates to your system requirements. But again, if you're having a hard time, consider
Hmm.
hiring a consultant. And what a consultant's going to do is bridge the gap. They're gonna translate for you. They're gonna
Hmm.
say, okay, this is your technology solution. Then,
Okay.
you
So
know,
let me ask you a question in here with the hired consultant, because I
sure.
know some of these systems, like the core systems, with some of these, especially when you're in the mid market or the enterprise market, some of these core systems, even some of the ancillary systems, will provide their own services with that stuff. Do you suggest
No,
using those? Okay. Okay.
no, that's where the be careful comes in,
Okay.
and the pre-established affiliations.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you're hiring one of the big guys and you're getting a software, regardless, whoever it is, and they say, "Oh, we have a consultant that can help you implement," you
Hmm.
want them, you do want that consultant, and that should
Hmm.
come as a standard, right?
Hmm.
Depending on where you're buying this software, because then again, if it's an affordable mid-market product, it may be like a Spirit Airlines where you just get the seat. Everything else you have to pay for, type
Yeah.
of thing.
Got to pay for the
Um,
cushions.
yeah, you got to pay for exactly, but you understand that going into it, so it's different.
Yeah.
But what I urge is for if you hire a consultant, you're getting someone who's not affiliated with oh, we're this expert, and a lot of them advertise that they're experts at one system or another, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's great if you've already made up your mind on what system you need. But if you're still looking for systems, you got to be wary of the consultant that you hired that kind of is an expert for only two or three systems that are out there.
Yeah.
Because if you end up with that system, have you had a really honest shake at things?
Yeah.
So you don't if it was me, I wouldn't hire a consultant that had an affiliation with a pre-established a system, a pre-established relationship with a
Yeah.
vendor and a product or whatever. I would try to just get folks that are experts, period, in human resources, in payroll. They're just consultants, period. They can talk to you about any system, and that's it. The good consultant is going to bridge that gap. They're going to say, hey, these are your business needs, and here is your technology solution.
Yeah, and they'll be able to spell it out. And they'll give you a game plan.
Hmm.
An outside consultant will give you a game plan for
Yes.
each option that you're thinking about.
Yes.
So, like you're saying, they won't be transfixed on the one solution. Like, oh, you got to make this work. You got to
Yeah.
make this work. You know what I'm saying? So, I
Right.
gotcha.
They're going to be circling back to their partnerships at the end of the
Gotcha.
day. Just keep that in mind if you hire a consultant. Be comprehensive with comparison. That means look at as many as you have time to. The
Hmm.
problem is a lot of times companies don't realize you really need about a year to implement. Let me qualify
Oof.
that. Let me
Yes.
qualify that. For big implementations, it's going to
Hmm.
depend on how many. So let's say mid market, 100 to 10,000, you need a year. Maybe
Yeah.
not the 100, but definitely as you climb through into 1,000 employees, even at 500, you're going to have a lot of data depending on how long you've been running payroll. If you're changing payroll systems, you probably have a few years of data. So even if it's only 100 people, you times that times that by turnover, times that by how many years, you got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of rows of data,
Yeah.
right? With that little population. For mid-market implementation, you should have a year.
Yep.
You should plan a year. And I know a lot, oh, that's crazy, the money and this and that. See, it doesn't mean that you have hired all these folks yet.
Mm.
It could be preparation. Your new vendor is going to ultimately do whatever you want.
Gotcha.
You tell them, hey, I want to sign now, but we're going to start 3 months down the line. Then that it is what it is. You're going to be able to flex what you want in mid-market if you're getting into a contract. They're going to want to please you, right? So try to give yourself as much time as you can to implement.
Yeah, because that will reduce some of the errors, some of the problems, and you don't want to implement garbage, because garbage in, garbage out. You don't want to implement garbage data into your new system.
Exactly. So again, be comprehensive with comparison. Give yourself time to find the right vendor. Don't rush in, right? And me and Walt have been part of organizations. They rush into something because they want to save a buck. And then they realize, and the experts come in, they didn't have payroll as a part of the process for the vetting process. And then all of a sudden you throw this on your payroll team, and then they tell you what's wrong, and you realize, wow, I'm not saving any money because now I have to hire somebody to do all the things that I just lost in functionality moving from one software to the other.
And I know a lot of times during those situations that I've experienced, and I think you can attest to this as well, is that a lot of companies don't factor in the fact that you have to train your employees in this new system and the time and money that takes.
Exactly.
Because if there's mistakes and stuff like that from the training, because some people learn slower than others, differently than others. However, if you have a lot of turnover at your company, you're always going to be constantly training. A lot of companies don't factor that in.
No, and then it's almost, hey, we can't afford to train. No, you can't afford not to train.
Yes.
You can't afford not to take this time to implement this. Some folks are spending $100,000 on implementing a payroll product or HR product, and you're gonna do it fast.
Bro, go ahead.
I had a IT direct. I'm sorry, she was probably like the VP of IT at one of previous employments, and she said we could do it fast, but it's gonna be dirty.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's gonna be dirty. I like that.
But it's gonna be dirty because she knew the date and what that meant in her speak is the date is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
We can flip this switch. Sure, we can flip this switch in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But the date is gonna be horrible. And for a payroll implementation, I always say go 1-1 at the beginning of the calendar year, regardless of when your fiscal year is. Payroll, no matter what, runs on a calendar year. Your W-2 is for a calendar year.
Yep.
So that is when the data turns over.
Yep.
So that's when you ideally want to run an implement. You don't have to worry about moving balances and accumulators and a million other things that you don't even think about if in the middle of the year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Quarter end is a second option, but best option is year end. You're not moving balances. You don't have to worry about these totals that you now have to manage between two tax authorities because the payment, like, it gets really messy. So anywho, if you're spending all that money on a system, why not do it right? Why wouldn't you do it right? But they don't think about it that way. They're 10,000 feet in the air. They're just like, hey, aren't we supposed to get this done? So that's always my push because it's a warning. And if they do it any other way, at least you've warned them. Hey, if we don't do it 1-1, it's going to be dirty.
Yep, it's going to be dirty.
And if we don't have at least 6 months to a year.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Practitioner Corner podcast. It's a wonderful podcast about the journey, the paths of how practitioners, both HR and TA, kind of go from high school, college, all the way to where they are right now. Some of the things that they've learned, how they've been successful, people that thrive around them, etc. It's a fun podcast. You'll love it. You'll learn from it. Subscribe to it. Thanks.
It's going to be dirty.
Yeah, I think as a good payroll professional, that should be something that you mention. You can't be afraid to push back if they say, "Hey,
You have
can
to.
you get this done in a month?" Oh, yeah, we can get it done, but just know if we do it this way, some of these calamities, some of the fallout could be this.
Oh my gosh,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? Like I remember working for a company where my manager, it was mid quarter. It was like the beginning of the year. It was the first quarter of the year. Mid quarter, we had just switched to another system, another core system, and they didn't like it, so they wanted to save money. And so the owner came in there and said, "Well, I want this done by the beginning of the second quarter." There's no question. My manager at that time didn't push back.
Oof.
He said, "Okay, sure, we'll get it done." And there were so many errors, so many hiccups, people's taxes. Like that was one rough year.
And what folks don't realize is that probably had a ripple effect for years.
Yes.
Years. Again, looping back to be comprehensive with comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time choosing the companies that you need and
Mm-hmm.
compare them and circle it back to your requirements. It can't just be about the money,
Yeah.
right? Because if it's about the money, it'd probably be cheaper just to stay in the position that you're in and leverage it. Speaking of which, before you think you have to move to another system, you need
Mm-hmm.
to have exhausted your current system.
Yep.
You need to know your current system in and out.
Yep.
Call your vendor, call your reps, and say, "Hey, am I leveraging the system the way I could? What are my opportunities?" And they will be glad to tell you,
Mm.
right? Because one, they should good customer service, and two, it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk to you and upsell.
Yep.
They're going to be, yeah, oh, absolutely. We're going to send this person out. We're going to send that person out. Because not only they're going to tell you what you're not doing, they're going to tell you what you can also do. And they want an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to sell you anyway,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. The more things you know about, the better. You keep good relationships with your vendors and your sales reps. And
Yep.
that's how you build your world, right? Because then they're going to want to help you more. They're gonna
Absolutely.
start throwing you tips, things like that. Be comprehensive with the comparison. Again, leaning back to just making sure you're getting required. Compare and contrast. Do the nifty charts and checks and minuses of,
Yes.
this one has and this one doesn't, and that one has it, that one doesn't. Because again, it you could be wasting money thinking you're going to save money doing this, and then it doesn't have a core competence that you really need, that you needed from the gate, but you didn't identify your system needs properly, so you
Yep.
don't know where you're getting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one thing I want to say is that, as a payroll professional, especially if you're in management, you should always want to be involved or be in the room when these decisions are made, if you can be. But a good organization would want you to be, right? Something that's managed. I'm not telling you to leave the organization that you're at if you're happy there, but a organization that is about doing things the right way when it comes to implementing, especially when those systems um, are going to impact payroll, you should want to have at least your payroll manager or somebody in the room to express those things, because the devil's in the details. A lot of times,
Absolutely.
the C-suite and the higher ups are thinking on a different level,
Hmm.
and as we know, one of Brian's many favorite quotes: "The devil's in the details."
Yep.
And a lot of times they may know a little bit of the surface stuff and some of the things that have been relayed to them by you as the payroll professional, but they don't know a lot of the details that you would know as the payroll person that you are. So I think that's important. I think that's vital for successful integrations or implementations of these systems that are directly going to impact payroll. Because at the end of the day, if it impacts payroll, it's going to impact the employee
Yeah, absolutely.
potentially.
Absolutely. No, that's a great call out, because it's right. The success or lack thereof of your implementation is going to depend on how much you had payroll involved in the process.
Yep.
That's it. That's really the truth of it all. And I think it's becoming more apparent. It's more, people are realizing that more now,
Yeah.
because payroll is starting to get that momentum. It's starting to just be like, wow, okay. And it's more complex and different compensation packages, and the more complexity that's went into compensation has dictated more awareness around payroll.
Yeah.
Right. And we're starting to get it. You hope that you're part of that conversation with implementation, because it could be a beast. And like I said, implementation, we'll have to cover it. We'll have to cover it again in the show in a different episode, because it deserves its own episode. Just to try to, I just wanted to lead, and you see, this is why, because you go easily on a tangent on something involved in implementation. But just to circle back to the tips that we wanted to help you guys or share with you guys today is identify your system needs and requirements. If you have a hard time, hire a consultant. Research your system based on those needs that you just discovered and established.
Yeah.
Be comprehensive with your comparison, meaning as many different vendors as you can have the time to vet, do it, and try to give yourself a lot of time. That should be its own separate tip, as much time as you can take. If you're hiring a consultant, be careful, because some of them have pre-established affiliations. And what I meant by stretch out of their core competence, meaning if you call a consultant that maybe it's on the cusp and you thought it was the right consultant, they may take the work because they're excited but they've never done it before, and you're going to be the guinea pig. You don't want that consultant. I'm sorry. Unless they're doing it for free. It should be for free if you do that.
I mean, even if it's for free, I don't know.
No, I mean, even to consider it, right? Because maybe you never know. When I was learning to be a barber back in the day, I used to get free cuts at the school because you're letting students cut your hair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway,
I got you. But in my time in the military, I don't know if people will agree with you, because I was cutting hair in the military for free because they wanted to give me a shot at being a barber, and I was
that's
jacking people
hilarious.
up. They were like, "Oh,
that's
no,
hilarious.
It's not good."
So see, you were stretching out your core competence, and it didn't work.
So what's that movie, Gangs of New York, right?
Yes.
So what was that guy's name? Because my middle name is on the movie, Bill the Butcher. They used to call me that.
Bill the Butcher. That's hilarious, bro. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know.
We both had a stint in being barbers, and we're not barbers, folks, so we left that. The next one is have a clear scope of what your consultant will do for you. If you're, we were talking about hiring a consultant, have a clear scope of what they're going to do for you. Hold them accountable and require constant communication. You know, so that's implementation of systems, right? Those are the tips to implement systems. But yeah, we promise to come back with a show for it, because there's so much to talk about.
So one thing I wanted to mention, this is more so of a tip, just to kind of give you guys to let you know what the difference between a PEO and an ASO is. So I'm sure if you worked in those organizations that process payroll for multiple clients, a lot of employers, that's a PEO. You know, a PEO stands for Professional Employer Organization. And typically those are those core systems that they handle, like the payroll, tax compliance. Some of them will handle HR, workers' comp, benefits, and that stuff. But typically what a PEO does is that it will file the taxes for you on your behalf, and it'll be covered under their EIN. Now, the ASO is a little bit different. They can do some of the same things. ASO stands for Administrative Services Organization. And sometimes...
Never heard of that one.
Sometimes I work for a company that offer both options. You can either be brought in under the PEO or the ASO service. Now,
what's the ASO like?
So an ASO, they can do some of the same things. They process everything. It's like your payroll, your tax compliance, your human resources, your insurance, benefit stuff. But the employer or the client retains the record status, and all payroll taxes are reported and filed using the client's FEIN.
Okay.
So that's the difference, really.
So more like traditional, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the PEO is something very different. It's almost the employee is yours, but it's not, doesn't work for you legally.
Yes.
Just completes things for you.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
like payroll is easy to understand, but sometimes PEOs offer also HR folks too, right?
Yeah.
You have like outsource your whole HR department basically.
What's the HRO? I think.
I say HRO is called.
Yeah, human resource outsourcing.
Yes. Yes. See, and so so in that case, you don't hold the systems,
Yeah.
but you still kind of have to have access, no? Or how does that work with
Yes.
you get a
So
login and you can
so
pull reports and view?
so yeah, what the clients had back when I first started at a PEO, they basically would either call in, email, or fax their timesheet over.
Wow.
And me as a payroll processor, then I had to manually key it in, import it, or whatever. And I was responsible for it, for balancing it and everything. They had a total on there, but even if their total was wrong, I had to let them know, hey, your numbers was wrong. This is the total of the total hours, and confirm it with them. Had to get approval from them before I can move forward. So yeah,
Wow.
hey, they would hand me they would get us the timesheet somehow, however they saw fit. We would take that information and push it through for payment. That company was just strictly heavy payroll processing. We didn't do any other stuff. We strictly process payrolls in that instance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
In that case, you're leaving the systems up to them. That's a whole outsourced deal. And if you can afford this and it's built right, again, identifying your system needs and requirements, but you're going to outsource it and it may save you a ton of money and make sense for you. It's not going to make sense for every industry. It's a luxury almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In some cases you're pretty much paying for an FTE full-time equivalent in another company. So you got to think about that. Does the math work for you? And it may work. It may work fine, and that's why they exist, and it's $1 billion industry. I think companies forget they're the ones in the driver's seat. You pick what you need. You can't listen to these big fancy salesmen talking to you and wooing you. Whoa, easy. You got to know what you need. Just like buying anything, you have to be a informed consumer.
Yes.
You have to be a savvy consumer. You're spending hundreds of thousands, tens of hundreds to millions of dollars on software. Don't get run over. You have to apply some logic, these tips, to do your work, take your time, and then implement. You know what I mean? We're talking about systems, this pillar, and implementation will probably, again, be
a spin-off episode.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the spin-off. We could probably do a whole series on implementation.
Yeah.
Holy moly, it's so much. It's ginormous. But that's why we figured we'd just give you these tips.
Yeah.
I hope it was helpful.
I know we had a note for being SAS, SSAE, or SOC compliant.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, compliance. Duh.
Yeah.
So all your systems, just because it's a software out there in the internet and they look fancy and they look legit, doesn't mean that it's a compliant system.
You fancy, huh?
You fancy, you look fancy, and it's just like you buy a real cool car or something, nice car, and it doesn't pass inspection. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, doesn't matter how nice the car is if it doesn't pass inspection, you can't drive it.
Yep.
If you don't get a compliant software, you can't use it.
Yeah, and that's like standard for the industry, right? Just like when you have a building that needs to be up to code, it won't pass inspection. That's similar to how it is with the systems.
Absolutely. I don't think folks think about it so much because, oh wow, no, I found this great software and it's amazing. But has it been vetted for cybersecurity, like for security threats, and is it easily hacked?
Pookie.
Yeah.
Hack into it.
Hack into it, exactly. Or what is it when you're dealing with our auditors? They ask for that SOC report. There's a specific report that they ask for that is industry standard. They have to produce it. They can't not produce it. The payroll software people can't not produce this report. They have to be compliant. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with companies that maintain compliance. And these are things that, again, you can research before. Comprehensive comparisons. Do your research and make sure that the companies have what they need. There's no better business.
Hey everybody, Tim Sackett, host of HR Famous, a new podcast on the Work Defined Network. Am I famous? No, I'm HR famous. My wife says I'm a micro celebrity, and 13 HR ladies around the world want their picture with me, which I think is funny. So, hey, what do we talk about on the pod? We talk about all the dumb stuff we do in HR in any given day, week, month, and we have fun with it, and we have some great guests. Come check us out. We're not famous, we're HR famous.
Read all the tweets about them, whatever info is out there. And especially in today's world where we have so many communities that we can talk about brands and products,
Yeah.
like, come on, go out and do the research. Like, you're spending hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. Somebody needs to do the work for the company and make sure that you're not getting a bad product.
Yeah.
And yes, there is compliance around it. So you have to be aware of what compliance you need. And in payroll, it's usually basically around IRS, the moving of personal information. We've talked about PPI many times, and we will continue to talk about PPI and IRS and all these good things, because that is what defines payroll. We're dealing with personal information, and we got to keep it secure. So you want your websites and your systems and your cloud computing to be cyber secure and compliant.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think we're at the end of our show. Do you have any last parting tips or words for the viewers or the listeners?
No, that's it, man. Like, send us any questions or any thoughts that you guys have on this pillar systems, as I hope we're building up that community with you all, and we want to answer some questions and give feedback through the show, because nobody knows everything in payroll. Nobody knows everything. Prove me wrong. Nobody knows everything in payroll, period. So the more we know as a community and the more we can share this knowledge base, the more future generations will have this library to pull off of, because this is like what they call evergreen content in the podcast world, where this stuff that we talk about now is probably going to be relevant for at least 5 or 10 years, especially maybe a lot more, because it's general. No matter what system you have, and no matter what, this is all applicable. It was applicable 10 years ago, and it's applicable for at least another 10 years. So it's evergreen material, right? And let's keep adding that content to, like I've said in other shows, we're an underserved market, right? Keep bringing the payroll content out there. So, yeah, man, I'm just glad to share. I'm glad to be a part of the conversation for years to come. I'm excited about where it's going. I love it, man. I love that we staying diligent and we just keep turning out some helpful, what we believe is helpful information for folks. And let us know. Let us know. Start reaching out. Let us know. We're on LinkedIn. I think that's the best platform for us. If you find us anywhere else, go ahead and reach out. But professionally, it's on LinkedIn, and look in the clicks and the bios and all that to find the links of how to reach out. And yeah, man, keep in touch. We're excited. We're excited to be a part of this conversation.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you for joining us today on our podcast, It's About Payroll. We're your hosts, Brian Escobar and William Duncan. And until the next time, folks, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.